Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of The Bullet. My name is Paul Lathrop. I'm the Deputy Director of New Media for the Second Amendment Foundation, just in case you've forgotten over the past 10 days or so. Joining me today, Charlie Cook of Riding Shotgun with Charlie. We're not going to give you a chance to forget him because he'll be back with me in about an hour when we do Polite Society. Charlie, how's it going today, man?
It's doing great. They can try their best to forget me, but I'll be back in a half hour.
Exactly. Want to remind everybody that if you're catching us live on the Facebook or YouTube page for Polite Society Podcast, comment on either of the live videos, and we'll get your comments on the air if they're relevant to what we're talking about, and I see them in time. If you're watching us anywhere else, go to Twitter, tweet with the hashtag #TheBullet, and we'll get those and put them on the air as well. It's okay, you can go to Twitter now. It's supposedly free speech. So,
supposedly.
Yes. We've got several people checking in. 500 Magnum
right.
says, "Hey Charlie." So
what's going on? Good. I gotta say, man, it's good to be back. It's been what you said, like a week and a half with from the Polite Societies. You had some time off. Everyone had some time off for Thanksgiving, and it's good to be back.
Yeah, I stopped. The last broadcast of the Bullet was the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and then the day after Thanksgiving, I had to go to Idaho to take care of some family business, and I got back Saturday night very late. So
nice. Well, it's good to spend time with family.
Yes, absolutely, it is. Let's go ahead and get started, Charlie. First off, we have a victory to talk about for SAF in California. The Ninth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in San Francisco has vacated and remanded a lower court decision in the long-running challenge by SAF and NRA provisions in Gun Control Initiative 1639, passed in November 2018, that prohibits the sale of semi-auto rifles to anyone under the age of 21 and also prevents sales of such rifles to residents of another state. That's a Washington law. And the announcement came December 2nd. Joining SAF and NRA in the February 2019 lawsuit were firearms retailers Daniel Mitchell of Vancouver and Robin Paul of Spokane, three private citizens in the prohibited age group. Case is known as Mitchell versus Atkins. Charlie, this is the Ninth Circuit. This is Liberalsville.
This is great news. This is really good stuff.
So, what is you've looked over the story? What's your general impression?
I think it's great. Why do we limit what people can have based on their age once they're 18 and the age of being an adult? What's the big deal? Well, if you're going to be an adult, be an adult. Let them buy rifles. Let them buy semi-autos. They're not more dangerous or less dangerous than other firearms. They just operate differently. So this is good news.
Yeah, absolutely, it's good news. And yeah, we've said this before. At the age of 18, let me hit that button so you're not alone on the screen like you were for 7 minutes one time.
7 minutes.
But anyway, at the age of 18, you can enter into a contract. You can join the military and possibly die for your country. There's a whole host of things at age 18 you can do. And
go into college debt.
Yes. Oh, good Lord, you can go into college debt. When I was college age, you could work your way through college, and it wasn't that difficult. I don't know where a college age kid is going to earn $100,000 in just a few years and still have any money left over.
I'm going to say if a college kid can make $100,000 in a couple of years, they might not need college.
Exactly. So, yeah,
I've got a college degree. I'd like to make that much money.
Yeah, I again, it's a victory, and it directly comes out of Bruin, because the Bruin decision says for gun laws you need to look at laws as they were in the 1700s, 1791 specifically, and I believe you have a book that may be in your possession. That
I do. This book
proves.
This is from the Battle of Gettysburg. The book is not from the Battle of Gettysburg. The book is pictures of people that were involved in the Battle of Gettysburg, and in 1863, July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And the reason that I found this book at one of my schools, it is filled with pictures, and it has a lot of pictures of people that were 18, 19, and 20 years old, holding long rifles and going to fight for the country, whether they were from the north or the south. They were 18 years old. They had rifles. They got shot. One guy had a leg taken off. Another guy had an arm amputated. But some of them were 18 to 20 years old, which to me proves that 18 to 20-year-olds should be able to own firearms. It's not 1791, but it was 1863. This is really common sense. It's we did this in the Obama years when they extended health insurance for college students to be 26, which meant, hey, you can be 26 years old and you can still be under your parents' health insurance, which is a little ridiculous. I'm going to say, honestly, in my mid-20s, 26 years old, I was living in an apartment in Boston, teaching 5 days a week, playing in a band 4 nights a week. I don't even know if I had health insurance.
That's 9 nights.
Well, I was teaching 5 days a week and playing 4 nights a week. Sorry. By Friday, by Friday, everything was just a mess, man. But
it still hasn't straightened itself out.
Oof. Yeah. So, if you're going to be 18 and be an adult, be 18 and be an adult. Let them be able to buy whatever they want to buy, as long as they're not breaking the law. They're passing background checks. They're taking classes. They're jumping through the hoops that the anti-gun folks want us to jump through. But the hoops are just never enough for these people. Yeah. It really is the slippery slope. Give them an inch and they'll take a mile, or 7.
Exactly, it is. And going back to that, you can be on mommy and daddy's health insurance until you're 26. Well, most people graduate high school at between 17 and 18. So let's give them the benefit of the doubt and say they're 18 when they get graduated from high school. That means they spend 6 years to get between a 2 and a 4-year degree.
That right there is the Common Core math.
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. Yeah. Let me get a comment up here real quick. 500 Magnum again. If you're old enough to die in combat, you're darn sure old enough to have a handgun. 500 Magnum, you and I agree on that. This case was specifically about long guns, but I believe, I'm not an attorney myself, and I'll make a call later tonight after we get off Polite Society and go up the chain and see if it applies to handguns as well. But I think it may. He also says, nowhere in the Second Amendment does it say you have to be a specific age. So,
boom.
Yeah. And Barry, we've got fans out there. Barry says, hey, Paul and Charlie, love you guys. We love you too, Barry, in a very brotherly way.
Absolutely. It's good to see you, man. Good to see you.
So
the gun stuff. So, man, I remember before I was involved in all of this the way that I am now, I do remember there was a story about somebody in the early 2000s. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it was the early 2000s. Oh gosh, what did he do? there was a guy in Illinois that had a baby, and he got him a FOID card as like a 2-month-old baby.
Oh,
Because there's no age. I don't think there's an age restriction for a FOID card. So this guy went and got him a FOID card when he was 2 months old or something.
this has been, I don't know anybody that's done this for a while, but specifically the last few years, it wasn't all that uncommon for when, for example, if I had another grandkid show up, one of my kids had another grandkid, the grandparents would buy them lifetime NRA memberships. Although I would say right now, if when you get a new grandkid, get them a Second Amendment Foundation lifetime membership. It's only $150, and so I mean you're talking quite literally pennies a year if the kids makes it to, well, no, not pennies a year,
Right.
dollars a year if the kid makes it to an average
Average age.
age before they pass.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
couple bucks a year and they're covered for their life. They've got a lifetime membership.
I'm sure you heard this story before, but Amanda and Rob tell a story where Rob went to one of the NRA annual meetings and they wanted to know his NRA number, and so they gave it to him, and they're like, "That's not an NRA number." He's like, "Yeah, it was in the '60s."
Yeah, yeah. And I think what was going on is he had a letter to start his NRA number, and then that they discontinued that. I want
Right.
to say in the early '70s. So,
Right.
Anyway, let's go ahead and move on to our next story. This one by one of my bosses, Dave Workman, off Liberty Park Press. As promised days ago, the National Shooting Sports Foundation has entered the legal fray in Oregon, filing a federal lawsuit supported by the NRA U.S. District Court in Portland against Measure 114. And there's also, I didn't get it into show notes today, but there's a little bit of a victory in Oregon in that the state's attorney for Oregon, the lead attorney for the state in Oregon, has said, we're not going to make you right away, we're not going to make you get training before you buy a handgun, because none of the police departments or sheriff's departments are set up for it. So a minor victory in Oregon in that they couldn't do what they said they were going to do, and so they're not enforcing part of it. And now there's 3 separate lawsuits. SAF has one, Firearms Policy Coalition has one, and now NSSF has one. Specifically in Oregon, all 3 lawsuits are going against the magazine capacity limitation. And I believe what has to happen is somebody has to be affected by not being able to get a permit to purchase before they can sue, which is probably why nobody has filed lawsuit in Oregon for that part of it yet.
Right. Like sometimes this stuff has to be enacted before they can be sued, or before someone can fight what the laws are. They have to actually become a law, not just a bill. This is. I mean, of course we should be fighting this. After I read the stories, in the show prep today, I started thinking, I'm like, man, the fight really does not ever end. It is ongoing and ongoing and ongoing and ongoing. And if it's not one thing, it's going to be another. If it's not, the high cap magazines, then they're going to have to fight and say, okay, well, you've got to take a class. What class do we take? We don't know, but you have to take a class. And I think this article, maybe I'm cruising through the article here. This is, no, it's one of the other articles that talked about how, that was in the story in Washington, about how there's a growing number of people with licenses. And it's like 11 to 12,000 over the course of a few months. that's a lot of people, and if they don't have enough people there to work the system, to fill out these, whatever, fill out the background checks and to make the licenses and to print everything up and take the photos and fingerprints and all this stuff that they do for licensing, if they don't have enough people to do this is going to take longer and longer and longer, particularly with more people getting permits and wanting to be able to protect themselves.
Well, we've got a story later in the show here. I think probably just jump to it now, and that's that we've got this comes out of oops, I got the wrong one. American Rifleman, which is an NRA publication, but they're discussing research done by Dr. John Lott, and even though half the states now, 25 of them, so half numerically, you do not have to have a permit to carry. Even with that, we're still growing permits at a rate of 2.3% per year. And that's with, like I said, a host of states where you do not need to have a permit to carry. If you live in, for example, if you live in South Dakota and you want to travel to another state, you do have to have a permit to carry outside of the state you reside in. So, and then
so you cash in on the reciprocity.
Yeah. Let's see, I want to get. There was a few other facts in here that I want to cover. Alabama has the state with the highest percentage of permits among adults. 32.5% of Alabama adults have a concealed carry permit. That's mind-blowing. I thought South Dakota was doing good at about 15. Alabama's just got us smoked.
Yeah, more than double. I mean, this is great. This is law-abiding people wanting to make sure they're abiding by the law, as ridiculous as they may be. And Alabama, just this year became a permitless carry.
They actually haven't yet. It's another month. Okay. January 1st, that law takes effect.
Gotcha.
So on January 1st, they will officially be the 25th. Although it may have been approved in a different order, but theirs takes effect January 1st. So at that point, they will be the 25th permitless carry state. See here. Second for concealed carry permits percentage-wise of adults, Indiana at 23.4. They, again, just last year got permitless carry. Georgia, 15.5. Same story, different verse. They got concealed carry this year. They're at 15.5. Only 4 states collect information on ethnicity, but the figures show a big increase in minorities carrying for self-defense. The number of black permit holders grew by 150% when compared to those listed as white. The ratio of Asians with new permits increased by 114.8% as well.
Speaking of ethnicity, real quick here.
Yeah.
Yesterday I was doing some work, and there was a knock at my door. There's never a knock at my front door. So I'm like, this is really weird. So it ended up being a woman from the census. And she's asking me a bunch of questions, and I'm like,
didn't that really wrap up like in 2020?
I don't know, man. I know I went through this probably almost 10 years ago with another guy. So I'm like, okay, I'm kind of doing the math on this. I'm like, all right, maybe, I don't know. Anyway, so the lady asks what my ethnicity was. And she listed off all these, are you white? Are you black? Are you Hispanic? Are you not Hispanic? And I said, listen, I'm going to say that I'm an American. And she's like, no one's done that before. And I said, look, here's the deal. I was born in America. My parents were born here. My grandparents were born here. My great-grandparents were born here. And my great-great-grandparents are born here. And I think my great-great-great-grandparents are born here. People I don't even know. I don't know their names. Probably I've never seen pictures of them, obviously. They were born here. They're my descendants. I can't say that I'm like
their descendants.
Right. Yes, there we go. I cannot say that I'm a seventh generation American. That seems ridiculous to me. So I just said I'm an American, and then
I
I said sometimes I push it and tell them that America is my native country because this is where I was born.
yes,
Therefore, I'm a Native American.
I gotta admit that not 2 years ago, but 12 years ago, when when they were first starting to do this thing online, you could write in your ethnicity. And I am absolutely tired of the government making everything about race. And I was 12 years ago, too. That
Nice.
was the middle of the Obama administration. So I'm not kidding in the least. I wrote in Vulcan. And that there were knocks on my door for months after that I never answered. And this past time, 2 years ago, my wife just kind of took over and did the census, so I never got a chance to tell them that now this time I'm Romulan. So
They come over, you're like, "Hey, how you doing? Good to see
exactly,
you."
live long and prosper. Live long and prosper, right?
Oh my gosh.
So
That's great. Anyway, so we're I don't want to detract from the story here. It's great that people are getting their permits. Like I said, going through whatever they need to go through to get it. Um, it's it. I've really come around and believe that it's ridiculous that we need these permits, but I don't think it's ridiculous that people need to get education and learn when you can and when you should not use a firearm. So I think people need to get some sort of a training and education. I'm all for it, of course, but I don't think you should have to go through some, nonsense, some whatever, some nonsense course to be certified and licensed and everything like that.
yeah, I. It's unfortunate that in South Dakota there are three actually levels of permits. There's the regular permit. You go down, you go down to the sheriff's office. You say, "I'd like a concealed carry permit," and you don't need to go through. Honestly, that all you got to do is go down and say, "I want a permit," and you sign a paper, and they do a background check, and a week later, you've got your permit, zero cost. There's the South Dakota Gold permit, which allows you to go into a gun store and cash and carry a firearm. That one you do have to go through an enhanced FBI background check, but that takes about a month to 6 weeks, and there's also no cost to that. And all you gotta do is walk in and say you want one. And then there's the enhanced permit, which allows you to carry in a whole bunch more states. I have the enhanced permit. I can carry in 40 states, and that one you do have to go through a class for, a specific South Dakota enhanced class. And then once you've completed that class, you have to pay for the class. But once you've completed that class, you go down to the sheriff's office. There's no cost after that, and you get your permit in about 6 weeks after the FBI does their enhanced background check. So
Right. So speaking of enhanced permits, I saw an article today that said that here in Massachusetts, the real ID that we're supposed to have, the date for this is being pushed back yet again. So what is the sense in having a real ID?
yeah, ours, South Dakota has it, and I believe. Let me look in my wallet. I'm not going to show it on camera, but let me look at my driver's license. There's supposed to be, yep, there's a gold star. I'm going to cover up the rest of it, but show it up to the camera here. There's a gold star if you have got the real ID on, and I'll even, whoops, the wrong side, let you see that is me, but I'm covering up the driver's license number and all that good stuff, so. We had
I
that
have
for a few years.
Yeah, I got the Real ID a couple years ago when I took my daughter to get her driver's license, and then I think the year after that I took the motorcycle course. I got the motorcycle endorsement, but when they sent me the license with the motorcycle endorsement, it wasn't a Real ID. So now I'm lugging around two driver's licenses.
In some states, that's illegal.
Welcome. This is what the state gave me, and of course, I got it. I got it in the summer of 2020, and I'm like, I want to have both of these together, and they're like, well, you have to make an appointment, but because of COVID, we're not taking appointments.
Oh,
Whatever. Yeah.
all right.
Anyway,
500 Magnum. I want everyone to have the right to defend themselves and their families, regardless of what country they're in. I want everyone carrying. Dude, I'm right there with you. The right to keep and bear arms, my opinion, and I know it's shared by the SAF and everybody upstairs of me, so I can say it's the SAF opinion. The right to keep and bear arms is a civil human right. It is a God-given right, and that is not something that can be taken away. So everybody up in Canada, I know you're going through hard times. I believe it's your right to own whatever you want to own and use it as you see fit. Canada law is Canada law. So,
right.
and Big John 410 says real ID is to fly an airplane on an airplane. Yeah, that's why they put it through, so that
Right.
you didn't have to have a passport to travel on an airplane inside the United States. So, yeah, it is what it is. If you're going to get a driver's license in South Dakota, it's got to be a real ID. So,
Real ID. Anyways, more people are carrying, which is wonderful.
yeah, absolutely, Robert. This going back to the story about magazines. I have all low cap magazines. I don't have any high cap magazines. I don't either, Robert. I have a whole bunch of standard capacity magazines, but I don't have any high capacity magazines. Yeah, 30 is standard.
Capacity magazines.
Yeah.
Right.
Larry says, so the real question is, what age does one have to be to have a right? I think you have to be born. You have to be at least 5 minutes old, I think.
Right. You have to be out of the womb.
Yes.
At least out of the womb. Some people think before you're out of the womb, but yeah.
Yeah. And last story, because we're gonna run over, even though polite society is coming up. I want to talk about this story off of guns.com that with a change in polarity in the lower chamber of Congress next year, federal gun regulators are already getting letters from Republicans over gun control issues. U.S. Rep. Jim Jordan, an Ohio Republican set to move into the chair position of the House Judiciary Committee when the new Congress is seated next January, fired off a frank letter this week to the Bureau of ATF Director Steve Dettelbach, letting him know challenges will be likely, noting that his office and others have made several requests to the ATF for more information on controversial new rulemaking initiatives that have fallen on deaf ears. Jordan raised the prospect of compliance may not be voluntary. When the House changes in January, and then it's going to. The Republicans will control the House in January. There have been enough, now that we're almost a month after the election, there have been enough confirmed wins by Republicans that there's nothing the Democrats can do now to hold the House. I'm looking forward to the investigations shifting away from January 6th and shifting to current government corruption.
Absolutely. With the government letting all of this stuff with the oh my gosh, what's the company? MTX?
Yeah.
I think yeah, with all of that going on, the billions of dollars, they're still worried about you and me making $601 someplace.
Yes.
It's complete ridiculousness.
Yeah. How
And
much
I don't know
money
if
has the Pentagon lost?
Yeah, I did see I did see somebody say that we need to abolish not only the ATF, but we need to abolish the IRS as well, with all the money that they're losing.
Mm, no arguments here. 500 Magnum says, as far as I'm concerned, you should be able to walk around with your AK in full auto and a 100-round drum attached to it. 500 Magnum, I agree with you. I think you should be able to drive your M1A Abrams tank downtown with a round in the chamber and somebody back there rotating the turret. You ought to be able to do that.
Well, let's face it, it's not going to make the roads any worse.
No, no. Especially, it'll improve things in Chicago. I will guarantee you
Right?
that.
Oh my gosh.
All right. Well, we are already late, and we didn't get to all the stories I had up, but we've got Polite Society coming up in 30 minutes. I've got to turn this thing around.
PSP.
And
There's the notification.
There's my notification from my digital assistant saying get off the air, get things turned around. So, Charlie, before we go, let's talk to us about riding shotgun with Charlie and anything else you want to plug, bud.
Man, just before Thanksgiving, the most recent article on writing shotgun with Charlie came out in Arm Lifestyle Magazine. You should go to armlifestylemagazine.com and check that out. And you can check out all of the shows I'm putting out on Writing Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel, and you can download the podcasts and take them in the car with you.
Very cool, Art. Now, we're still doing those every other week? Are we creeping up on weekly
every other
again?
week. No, not yet. I had a goal to do the weekly shows for 2022, but that did not happen. So maybe I should really start busting my tail and keeping up. But yeah, so I got. I'd like to get back to having the weekly shows. I don't even know, honestly. 7 months of weekly shows. I don't know how I had the time to put in to edit a show every week, but somehow I got it done for 7 months.
Well, and I know you've got shows that come up from when we were in Dallas. You have shows that come up, all over the country. You've got people riding shotgun with you. What I want to know is how many miles are on your car, dude?
I bought at the beginning of the pandemic. I bought a 2014 Dodge Charger with 80,000 miles on it, and in the 2 3/4 years I've had it, I am now at 203,000 miles.
That's a mile or two.
Man,
Wow.
oh man, oh man. Yeah, I see my mechanic on a very regular basis for oil changes.
Last comment here, and we got to get out of here. Sand Hills Media. Writing shotgun with Charlie. Who came up with that awesome name?
You know what? That was I'm going to put that one on Trampus Swanson from the Swanson Media Group. He's the one that puts out the Armed Lifestyle magazine, and he and Amy Luke, I think it was Amy Lucas, was talking with him, and she said, "Hey, Trampus wants you to repurpose your show and write articles about it." I'm like, I've never even thought of that. So. Yeah, so they're the ones that came up with that idea. I'm writing articles about my Writing Shotgun show, right? Writing Shotgun with Charlie.
Very cool. All right, Charlie, thanks a bunch. We'll see you in 26 minutes or so. Everybody
Sounds
else,
awesome.
we're gonna shut this down. Please come join me the rest of the week, Tuesday through Friday, 5 p.m. Central, and Saturday at noon Central for a weekly bullet. Everybody, thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting.